I'm back.
All your favorite wrestling shows rolled into one. Welcome to the We Book It podcast. Let's start the show.
Hello and good Wednesday evening to everybody here at the We Book It podcast, and welcome to another edition of the AEW Recap. I am your host, Coach, and we are going to be looking into AEW Dynamite tonight as we get closer to Forbidden Door and we get some questions answered about the big cage match that will be happening. And in fact, we start out with that. Dynamite opens up backstage with MJF and the Don Callis family, to where Don Callis then reveals that fighting alongside MJF will be Kevin Knight, Kyle Fletcher, Jake Doyle, Okada, and Andrade. So really simple way to open up, and we got our first answer. Now we have to wait. What is Briscoe's team going to look like? But before we get that answered, we then go to the ring for our first match of the evening, which is Kenny Omega versus Tony Ness. Ness was already in the ring waiting for his opponent, and I see we got there was a mistake right there. Virgil was trying to get on there. But Ness was already waiting in the ring for Kenny Omega. Just want to clarify, this was an unannounced match, and it was a surprising combination. However, it was kind of something that got me a little excited for this. So it was nice to see Ness, who's kind of been underrated, getting more of a chance to show off. Mark Sterling distracted Omega so that Ness could take him down, but then Omega avoided a moonsault to take control. He had a Snapdragon suplex, followed by a second, knocked Sterling off the apron before hitting the one-winged angel for a quick victory. Before I get to the match, after the match, Omega grabbed a mic to give a promo, but before he could even say a single word, he was interrupted by TMDK, Zack Sabre Jr., and they were coming out to get Omega, but he wisely got to the other side of the ring before being attacked. The Young Bucks came out with Jack Perry to give the Cleaner some backup of his own. Omega picked the mic up again and introduced TMDK sarcastically, and there was no physicality. The match... The match was a letdown, if I'm being honest. I thought the post-match stuff did a great job of hyping up the Forbidden Door stuff, match, but I was kind of let down with how that match went. 2 weeks in a row, Dynamite has opened up with two bad segments, whether it is last week with Jericho and Ciampa, and now this week with a bad match with Omega and Ness. So I was I was very disappointed in that. But either way, we move on and we go to our next match, which is the Death Riders taking on Brodito, which of course is Bandito and Brody King. And it'll be Daniel Garcia and Jon Moxley representing the Death Riders. Guys, let me tell you, this one was a doozy. Not only did they get a lot of time, but there was a surprising outcome with this. So breaking it down, there was a nice little segment there where Daniel Garcia brought back his original dance moves after Brodito tried to mock him with the Macarena. Bandito really stole the match. He controlled the pace, tagged in King to dominate the smaller competitor Garcia. Moxley was just watching from the apron. And again, like I said, Garcia got to his feet, showed off the dance moves, and then took a stiff chop from King. Moxley then got tagged in. They traded some strikes for a long time. Both men got in some pretty good shots, but King seemed to have the advantage, so Mox had to resort to an eye poke. It barely slowed down King. Bandito tagged in and hit a gorgeous moonsault to take down the opponents at ringside. We then got a quick commercial break. We returned to see King beating Moxley in the corner. Moxley struggling to stand up after a couple of shots to the head. And then Garcia and Moxley started to make their comeback. Garcia and Bandito both were showing great chemistry in the ring, traded some nice takedowns and counters. We did have a little bit of outside interference with Marina Shafir, distracting King by getting into a barking contest with him, which allowed Moxley to hit a suicide dive, and then he and Garcia hit a spike pile driver on the floor to take him out. And then as the match was coming there, towards the end there, Moxley knocked Bandito off the apron, so there was no tag to be made to King. He and Garcia then kept King isolated in the corner with some quick tags and double offense. Brody finally made the hot tag, and Bandito came flying in, hit a cutter, kept the momentum going with two backbreakers and a one-arm press slam to Garcia. And then while the ref was distracted, Marina tried to interfere, but she ended up being hit with a suplex by the Ring of Honor champion. Bandito took out all three Death Riders with a big over the top, and as they tried to regroup, Bandito was then going for the pin. Moxley prevented that pin with a stomp, and then in a somewhat, here's that surprise, Bandito ended up getting the win with his finisher on Garcia, while King took out Moxley with a suicide dive. So a lot to unpack there. I want to talk about Bandito's moonsault from the top rope again. Perfect. I don't know how you can improve on that. Bandito just did a great job with that. Garcia, I really liked the Garcia there getting mad about the dancing and then doing his own dance. I thought that was kind of creative, especially since that was Garcia's old character. And it also kind of reminded the crowd that he can be fun to watch with his character. Didn't understand the barking between Shafir and King, but to each their own on that one. But I thought really solid match, and it was a really, really solid match, and again, surprising outcome. We then go to our next match, which is a women's semifinal matchup in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. This one between Hazuki and Mercedes Moné. These two have met before. Both fantastic matches, and this one just as good. But I want to know why this one was so much better in my eyes, and I think some other people will agree with that, is they weren't rushed. They were able to take their time and build everything. This match lasted through 2 commercial breaks, which is like, you don't see that in AEW. You see that in WWE all the time. Trust me, you see it on Monday Night Raw consistently. But you have 2 consecutive matches going through 2 commercial breaks. That means that they really want you to be invested in this, and they did a great job with both of these matches, especially with Hazuki and Moné. Both women did an outstanding job making the near falls feel like they might actually be the end of the match, but it was a submission move that scored the CEO the win. This is gonna be something I don't really say that much when it comes to matches. But if you did not get a chance to watch this one live, go back on YouTube and watch this match. You will not be disappointed because it was great. Like I said, you could tell they were taking their time with this and not rushing, and that allowed it to be even better. A couple side notes from this. The recovery from Hazuki, she missed the rope when she tried to hit a springboard arm drag. She messed it up, but her and Moné both recovered quickly and kept going like nothing happened. I love when that happens. Don't acknowledge the botch, just keep going. Just keep moving forward. And when that happens, sometimes you don't even notice the botch or remember it. I always appreciate when wrestlers do that. You gotta also give credit to Moné. Her facial expressions always help tell a story in the ring, and that makes her why she's one of the best. She does a great job letting the crowd feel those emotions, whether it be her cockiness or her not being able to get the victory, or in shock that somebody is still able to get up after she hits him with the finisher. So then we get to our main event, which is, who's that down there? Hello, hey, nice to see you, Julia. Thanks for tuning in. We go ahead, we jump right into our main event because, like I said, the CEO is a pro. Yes, AC, I see you. Yes, AC knows what's up. She knows what's up with the CEO. But we just go ahead and jump right into our main event. It was not a heavy match card tonight, but the quality of matches were great. So we go in and we go into a 12-man tag match, which is Team MJF versus Team Briscoe. Now, we did find out right before the main event who was on his team for Briscoe. Briscoe, he's got Kyle O'Reilly, Roddy Strong, Orange Cassidy, Takeshita, and Darby Allin. So you already know that this cage match is going to be something else at Forbidden Door. So this was just the appetizer for that big time match. And if you've watched AEW, you know that this match was just going to be straight mayhem. With that, first off, you have 12 guys, but then also on top of that, you have the veterans of AEW, and they just know when to go off script and just go crazy with it. That was the main thing about this. Now, it wasn't the cleanest of matches. It wasn't as good as the previous two. However, I still really liked this one. Was kind of surprised to see Darby Allin come back into the fold, but got to give MJF credit for selling how angry he was to see Allin back in the fray. Takeshita, great promo because it was so simple. He said, Kyle, I want you. Okada, I hate you. Keep it simple. Love it. And then, of course, you have your typical Darby Allin spot to where he just throws his body to the wind and doesn't really care what happens to it. He flew off the stage and hit the ring post, and man, God, that had to hurt. Side note, there is some obvious tension between MJF and Andrade, and you could really feel that during the match as both times those two interacted, they were really staring each other down. You could sense that tension, but in the end, after all of the mayhem, MJF did come in and got Roddy Strong to tap out to the salt of the earth, and ended the show right there. So just to recap, this week's show was different than most AEWs, and I said that before, because you only have 4 matches, and you let each match have its own say. And that's something that says a lot about how Tony Khan has kind of developed his booking, especially going into a big pay-per-view like Forbidden Door. I think that's something that's really good because you can have as many matches as you want on. Well, no comment, AC, but I know you love him. I know he's your boyfriend. But the one thing that I've often criticized with Dynamite is that you have all of these matches, but they feel so rushed. So this was a nice change of pace. Now, I also have the opposite criticism in WWE is that you should have more matches because there shouldn't be a allotted time for having 4 to 5 matches. You should be able to really expand out on more, especially if you have these stupid commercial breaks and promotions in between matches. So this is different for Dynamite because you have a set time and you were working against the network television here. So I thought this was a nice change of pace. Brodito defeating the Death Riders paved the way for Bandino to challenge Moxley for the Continental title at Forbidden Door. Mercedes winning to advance to the finals. Omega getting a squash victory. Still kind of disappointed with that one. And then, of course, MJF's team besting Briscoe's team thanks to a little help from Don Callis. So you won't remember this one a lot, but it was still a fun episode from start to finish. And there wasn't a whole lot of non-wrestling segments. You were able to enjoy the rest of all of the longer matches than usual at 8 on Dynamite. So I think this was a very solid show. Definitely a good way to keep building momentum into Forbidden Door. That is in 2 weeks' time, or actually week and a half time. Had to think about that one for a second. So next Wednesday is going to be the go-home show of Dynamite before Forbidden Door happens. So one can only imagine what is going to happen to keep building that card. Obviously, you're going to have the Owen Hart finals in the men and women's division. The cage match, I would assume we're probably going to get Bandito versus Moxley, and then who knows what else will be added on there. But it is shaping up to be something very, very good at Forbidden Door. And let's see if AEW can keep building off the momentum of Double or Nothing. So that's going to do it for me here on another edition of the AEW Recaps. Thank you to all of you that tuned in and commented. I appreciate you. You guys keep the show going. You keep engaging with us. We love it here at the We Book It podcast. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to all of our content here. We have plenty of shows. We got Monday Night Raw Dog with Big Daddy C. We got Who's Next in NXT with Virgil. You got me with the AEW recap. You got the Friday Night SmackDown Lowdown, Hoedown, Brain Around Town, Whoa Now with Teddy Lemon Peppa Steppas Long. And then Sunday, of course, our variety show, or as we like to call it, the Sunday Night Stunner, with all of us coming in. So please tune into all of it. Leave your comments. Special shout out to Virgil for being my producer here tonight. And until next week, I'm Coach. We'll see you on another edition of AEW Recap.